Well, we are joined now by 6 members of Bo Bergdahl's platoon. Guys, thank you all so much for being here. And I want to start with you, Evan Buetow, because you were the former sergeant. You were the team leader of the team that Bergdahl was on. What do you make of this latest reporting by James Rosen that he had converted to Islam, that he fraternized openly with his captors, and declared himself a warrior for Islam, at least by August of 2012?
Well, initially after he left, we knew that he had deserted. We knew that he was trying to find the Taliban, or trying to find someone who could speak English so he could talk to the Taliban. I mean, that was known to us at the time when we were on the ground right after he left.
But trying to find somebody who speaks English and can connect him with the Taliban could mean, you know, he had some God complex, he wanted to go solve the war. It doesn't necessarily mean he's getting ready to go collaborate with the enemy against the United States.
Exactly, and at this point, we're still going to have to listen to his side of the story at some point. I think that's right now, America wants to hear what he has to say.
Raise your hand if you think he deserted. Wow. Raise your hand if you have some question about whether he deserted. Wow. All right, go ahead, finish your point.
So, once he got with the Taliban and got connected with them, at that point, what happened after that, we don't know. And we're going to have to wait for his answers. Now, what's coming out now about him converting to Islam and those things, we all heard those reports too. We were all still in the army and everything.
When you think of him in captivity for 5 years, and you see that video of him coming home, you know, the Taliban released it. It's a propaganda piece, but nonetheless, it shows him. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think this is what I would have done too, what I had to do to survive, even if it had involved saying I'd converted to Islam and took up arms against the United States? What do you guys think when you see that?
No, definitely. Maybe 5 days. I would have done everything I had to do, cursing them, trying to escape, swinging on them, trying to steal a gun, shoot them. I'm not going to be a propaganda piece so my family can see me on the internet.
You're Cody Full, you're a former specialist, and you were his roommate prior to deployment.
Yes, in Fort Richardson. Another thing I keep hearing is, you know, what were his motives for deserting? It doesn't matter what his motives were. We all took an oath, and we all had to abide by, you know, orders, you know, and you don't just leave your fellow Americans to join somebody else.
But explain that to us, because civilians who have never, as you guys did, volunteered our service and our lives potentially to protect America think, well, he was disillusioned, you know, he was scared, he walked off. Help us understand what a cardinal sin is.
It's not an easy time. Iraq's not an easy time. Anytime you're in a combat zone, it's not an easy time. Everybody's struggling.
You don't do it because it's easy. We're not there because it's easy. We're there to do a hard job, and that's what you signed up to do.
We all signed up by ourselves. We volunteered. Mm-hmm. And a draft didn't come through, nothing like that. So for him to sign an oath, and like what Cody said, he signed an oath to go do his job.
But some people, and then he gets over there, it's a different story. He claimed in his email home to his dad, according to Rolling Stone, right before he deserted or left or whatever, that he had claimed he saw atrocities, he was very disillusioned with the army. I mean, I'm putting it nicely what he said in that email.
Now, just to add more to what they're saying, I mean, and yes, we did sign on that line, and we all saw, I mean, not atrocities in like, you know, some illegal thing that was going on that was trying to get covered up or anything, but you see your friends die, you see, and no one, unless you're there, you don't know what we've seen.
I can feel how strongly you feel about that. But to take it to collaboration, possible collaboration with the enemy, which is clearly something our James Rosen reported earlier this week that they have a CIA file on, and that there are many in the intel community who still believe that's a possibility, and they're investigating. And now the latest reporting about, you know, shooting AK-47s with the Taliban, doing target practice with the Taliban. Clearly a relationship had developed. It seems hard to believe that an American soldier would do that unless he had gone mad or if he was trying to save his life.
He doesn't seem like a captive. He seems like someone who is potentially enjoying himself by
But wouldn't you do it if you're Josh Corneliuson, you were a medic in the platoon.
Correct.
Wouldn't you do it too if he tried to escape? They got him back. They put him in a cage for 5 days. Wouldn't you then do what you had to do to save your life?
You do everything you can to get back to your guys because you know that they care about you. You care about them. You would put your life down for them, and they're going to do the same thing for you.
So what's the best evidence you have that the night he went missing and ultimately wound up captured, he was doing it intentionally?
Okay. The day we found, or the morning that we found out he was missing, someone went to wake him up for his guard shift. He was not there. He was not in his tent. His weapon, his bulletproof vest, his sensitive items were left behind in the tent. looked around the small OP we were on. It was the size of maybe 2 acres. Some wire, some areas where anyone could just walk right up. It wasn't like a structured base with walls and a gate. We had trucks fanned out. We had a couple bunkers. That was it. It only took a few minutes to look around and see that he was not there. And at that point, we knew nothing. We knew he was gone, and we had nothing else to go on. So we pushed a patrol out right away to go to the neighboring village. It's right there, to see if we could find somebody who could give us some information, a direction of travel if they saw anything. And we got out about 10 feet out of where we walked out, and 2 boys who were walking to school came up to us and said, "Hey, there was an American crawling through the weeds that way." And they pointed
us in the direction, and that's the lead we followed because that was the only lead that we had.
And I was actually on that patrol too.
I was too.
They said he has no weapon with him. He has no gear with him. And if you know infantrymen, when we go on patrol, we're slammed with gear. I mean, there's no. So they said that it was weird. He was by himself. You guys are never by yourself.
You never go anywhere without your weapon.
You never go anywhere by yourself.
And he had a conversation. Was it with you, Evan, as the leader, about what would happen to him if he took sensitive information? If he just happened to wander off and took sensitive.
Well, he said, "What would happen if my sensitive items went missing?" Which is it's a rhetorical question for any soldier to ask, because no one doesn't know the answer to that question.
You're going to get in a whole lot of trouble.
I mean, everything shuts down. If a weapon goes missing, everything's going to shut down.
And how many people here had a conversation with him prior to the night he went missing about I might walk off and go into India someday. I might walk off into the mountains someday. Because I read it, a few of you did.
He said that to me. It was probably a week or 2 prior. We were on a different mission, got stuck up on top of a mountain for about a week or so. And just, sitting around waiting to do our guard shifts or whatever, talking to me, just, making jokes or whatever. And he says, I could just, see myself getting lost in these mountains. I was like, well, I couldn't see myself, here, but maybe in like Colorado or Alaska. So I wouldn't want to, be stuck in the mountains in this country personally.
Did he say anything to any of you guys, though, about I'm disillusioned with the war effort, I hate the Army?
He never said to me that he hated the Army. He came to me at one point and said that he was concerned and frustrated with the Army's our approach to the war and what we were doing. He said he was frustrated with that.
He was disappointed in the way he thought us going to war was going to be we were going to go to war. It was gun battles every day. The war today is not that way. As Cody stated, it's all we're trying to get hearts and minds, trying to get the right way to go. And he was very. I mean, it was discouraging to him.
Yeah. So when the Rolling Stone article came out, we were all kind of like, what? Because the emails.
Because it had these devastating quotes.
Well, the emails he sent to his father were completely different from what he was saying to people in the platoon about what he felt about the war.
He wasn't talking about the horror of being an American.
No. He was wanting to do more aggressive stuff, and he was frustrated that we weren't allowed to do it.
Do you believe, because I know you have some anecdotal evidence that a couple of you feel the attacks got worse on your unit after he disappeared and so on?
I think everyone would agree that that's clear. And whether
that the attacks got worse. But how many of you believe that he had something to do with that? Raise your hand if you believe that.
It's hard to say. It's way too hard to say. There's way too many different things that can go with that, whether there's new people that came into the area, new bomb makers that came in, or if he shared information. I mean, that's so speculative.
Joining me again, 6 former members of Bergdahl's platoon. Unbelievable. So now, let's just set this up. It's gone from they told you couldn't talk, then you decided to talk when they started to say their version, and now that you've started to talk, you've got administration figures calling you swift boaters and psychopaths. Who would like to take that?
Frankly, I'm kind of flattered that they're actually acknowledging us. That shows that we're kind of making a point here. Yeah. And that's very important to what we're trying to portray, our message. But to jump to conclusion to say that he was directly responsible for those deaths, that's...
Of the guys who were looking for him. I
need a little bit more evidence to say that.
Okay, you won't go that far. Does anybody go that far, that he caused the deaths of those who were looking for him?
Well, they portrayed, 6, right after the news broke, 6 people from our whole battalion. They weren't, only 2 were in our company, so we don't know about the other 4.
Okay.
Now, at the same time, they all were, when Bergdahl left, and we knew that he then was trying to find someone who spoke English so he could talk to the Taliban, and we knew that he was then trying to make connections with them. I mean, the mission changed. I mean, just Bergdahl leaving, the whole mission changed. It went from, our hearts and minds, just going to villages, trying to find the Taliban and helping people, to a search. We got to search for this guy.
This is a big deal.
It changed everything. I mean, so every mission then was slated on, okay, we got intel that he might be here. Let's go over there and check it out. For what, like 2 months, maybe more, just nonstop.
60 days of just going.
And does the stress level go up for you guys?
Oh, yeah. You don't get a shower. You don't get to go send an email.
Yeah, you don't. You're on the big post for maybe 1 hour, and so you get to choose if you want a hot meal, if you want a shower, if you want to go to the PX and get whatever you want there, and then you have to roll out, and you don't know when you're going to come back. When it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks.
When you saw him get onto the helicopter the other day, you saw that video. Do you remember that? How did you feel when you saw that?
When I saw him, I said, "Wow, he looks pretty good." We looked a lot worse than that when we were out there looking for him. I mean, it was kind of funny to me. And then after watching the whole video, it was a little uneventful. They just handed him over. But them saying that, you heard that he was sickly and stuff. He didn't appear to be too sickly to me.
What really made me angry, though, was when I saw it on the news yesterday. Well, they played the audio from the people that handed him off, and they said that they were disappointed that they took him off so quickly because they didn't get to shake his hand and say goodbye. Well, if I was held in captivity for 5 years, the last thing I want to do is talk to somebody or shake their hand or laugh with them or joke or anything like that. I want to get out of there as fast as I can. And if I was in captivity, nobody's going to be saying, well, I want to say goodbye to him, because I'd probably be dead anyway.
I want to ask you, though, about with the attacks on you, because you were asked by the Army to sign the non-disclosures, and you guys are servicemen. You do what you're asked. So you signed them, right? What made you speak out? Was there something that upset you?
Well, we were told, you can't talk. And the NDAs, some people that haven't spoken out, they signed some official ones. Stuff we signed was more of like a gag order. You can't talk about where you're in. Probably shouldn't talk about it until he gets home.
So why'd you do it? Why did you feel the need to speak out now?
The truth needs to come out.
He's not a hero.
It's just exactly what happened, why it happened, and
what did you think when you saw the president with his parents in the Rose Garden?
I don't even know what to think on that. I mean,
we were on the Army.
Yeah,
so
it was hard to watch that. It was hard. I had to leave the room.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were all in the Army, and if he makes a mistake, if Matt makes a mistake, they do something that violates the military justice code, they get held accountable. Whether it be a court-martial, field grade Article 15, company Article 15, whatever that may be, they get held accountable. It's not fair to the men that have served this nation honorably and done the right thing, made mistakes maybe, got punished for it, came back from it, and did even bigger and greater things, to have him do something completely wrong, which is desertion, and come back labeled as a hero and not be punished at all. What
do you make, because we talked before the segment started about Susan Rice saying he served with honor and distinction.
Yeah.
These guys are not big fans of that comment. Well, I'll synopsize it this way. But then Jay Carney was asked to explain that, and here's what he said.
Sergeant Bergdahl put on the uniform of the United States voluntarily and went to war for the United States voluntarily. That takes honor, and it is a mark of distinction.
Okay.
He also voluntarily left as well, though. He voluntarily left us all behind to go do his own thing.
And I've known a lot of people in the Army that have signed the dotted line and came in, and they didn't serve with honor. So just because you signed the dotted line, you put on a uniform, doesn't mean that you've done anything yet. It doesn't mean that you've proved anything or shown that you have honor or done anything until you actually do something.
But even at the time, I mean, signing on that dotted line, knowing what you're getting yourself into, and then joining the military, knowing you're going to deploy, that's an honorable thing right off the bat, and that's great, and it was true at the time for him. But then he walked away in the middle of Afghanistan, on the farthest front lines you could be on, to go seek out the Taliban.
You feel that was an affront to you, that to say that his service was with honor and distinction?
It's saying that that's honorable. Saying that walking away, and whatever his agenda was in trying to connect with the Taliban, explain to me how that's honorable. I mean, that's
they seem to be trying to predate it.
I mean, that's spitting in the face to everyone who deployed, came back.
That's every and that goes for every serviceman.
Yeah. Oh, every not even us or his company. Every single person that was in the military.
Well, what do you make of these reports now that some White House aides are saying? You guys are swift boaters, and even the president and his top aides are now saying that anybody complaining about this, they're being political. That this is a political.
Politics out of this.
Yeah, we've made it completely clear that and this is the most I think we've ever talked about it, this is not about politics. This is about the fact that Bergdahl walked away from us, went to try to find the Taliban, and we know that for a fact, and we were all there. And there's not one person you could find who would say that they don't believe that, at least who was there. That is clear as day, and that's what we're trying to put out there. He's not a hero, and he did not serve with distinction, and that's a spit in the face to everyone who joined the Army and anyone who died looking for him. What do you think? What do you think their families think? They don't get their loved one back like Bergdahl's family.
Are you guys Republicans, Democrats? Are you political people?
Here's the thing: when you're in a combat zone, it doesn't matter if you're left, right, independent, Jedi, whatever you want to be. Okay, the only thing that matters is you have an American flag on your shoulder. And he's my brother, he's my brother, he's my brother. We're all going to ride together. We're all going to die together. And he, I guess, for whatever reason, I don't know how he felt about us, but we would all die for him. And he left.
And I considered him my really good friend. And it kind of hit me a little bit harder than maybe some of the other guys. But it all hit us hard because he was one of ours.
If you could see him today, what would you say to him?
I would just ask him why.
Yeah, I think that's every question. We've all, I think, collectively, and I know I have, because as being his team leader, I mean, he walks away, and we've never got closure on any of this. Yeah. We have no idea why he did it, and all we want to know is why, because we've had enough time to deal with our feelings about it. I don't think any of us are angry at him, but we need closure. Everybody needs closure at this point, and now that it's this big, I mean, all of America needs closure. It's not just the people who were there.
Raise your hand if you would like to see him court-martialed and see a trial. Wow.
And at the same time, just getting his perspective and what he's going to say now and what he thought, okay, well, you don't go up to a murderer and ask him, oh, did you do it? Oh, well, no, I didn't. Oh, okay, then you're free to go. Yeah.
A lot of people have said that. They've said, how can you say you deserted without getting his testimonial, his perspective on it?
So if he says, no, I didn't desert, are they going to say, oh, look, all those guys were just lying?
So what about all the classified files, sworn statements, original investigation, all these files that are classified that nobody can even see? Well, why can't they bring those to the public light?
Is there anything he could say at this point that would persuade you he did not desert?
No. There's nothing he could say.
Nothing.
Absolutely.
He left ROP, he left brothers, soldiers, leadership. He left the country to go seek out the Taliban.
Yeah, he still is a U.S. citizen, and he hasn't been discharged from the Army, so he still is a U.S. soldier. I still think that he does deserve due process.
Yeah, we all agree with that.
And and if that investigation leads to a court-martial, then so be it.
That's our main point, is we want him to
be held accountable for everything that he's done.
He needs to answer for what he did.
And it's not like the evidence is so circumstantial you can't do anything or have a trial.